Hi guys. Happy Thursday? God, sometimes I don't even remember what day it is. Um, anyway, I tagged my friend Steph in this video, who's an incredible entrepreneur. Hey Dave, this is a gentleman that I had the pleasure of getting to know and spend some time with last week at a mastermind that we're a part of. And what I can share with you before he jumps on tonight, he is nothing short than incredible. The story that this man has and what he's doing now professionally is absolutely incredible. So I'm going to wait for him to come on. Hey, Jen, good to see you on here. So if you're just coming on, say hi and where you're coming in from. I have tagged him in this. Let me see if I can get him to come on. Boo. There he is. Just invited him. Anthony, good to see you, brother. Hola, mi amigo. So I'm going to wait for Steph to pop on. He's actually West Coast time. But he's an empowerment coach. He focuses on, men and women really. Oh, there he is. I'm going to bring him on right now. So you guys definitely want to hear this. Let me add in Steph. So we're going to see how well technology cooperates with us because every week it's a little bit different. But you definitely need to hear his story. We had some good time actually connecting and talking. So once he comes on, I'm going to bring him on camp. There he is. What's up, brother? Can you hear me?
Hey, how are you, my man?
How are you?
I can. Good, thank you. I'm hoping the connection is good.
No, I can see you. I can hear you loud and clear, and
Awesome.
it just feels like just yesterday, just last week, we were sitting at dinner talking about actually doing this whole thing. So,
Yeah.
a week has gone by and we're here, and a lot of my network is not familiar with who you are and what you do. And, after we really had that great connection last week, I wanted to give you the space and the opportunity to talk, about who you are, what you do, the people that you serve and how you facilitate certain things to them. Because you just never know when someone may be popping on here that can use your services and learn from you and grow from you. So I'm gonna turn it to you, and then we can go back and forth a little bit. Just if you could, just a little brief introduction of who you are and what brought you to this point in your business, and just a little bit about what you do.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate being here, and I always enjoy speaking with you. That's for sure. And so for me, I thoroughly enjoy being immersed in what I call sacred union, or really playing in the realms of relationship. And so what does that mean? For me, that means creating clarity in relationship. It means having the best possible relationships possible. And how do we go about doing that? And it really begins with us. So I look at the relationship that we have with ourselves. I look at the relationship that we have with ideas, belief systems, models of reality, things that we're interested in, objects in our environment, people, of course, romantic partnerships, the relationship that we have to wounding or fear or pain, or how do we relate to joy? And so what are the most efficient and effective ways we can create a clear conduit of communication and articulation with whatever we are experiencing, what we're relating to? And so that's the foundation of what I do in the world and what really fascinates me and interests me. And then I take that a little bit further, and through my own personal journey I look at what does it mean to be a healthy man in the world? What does it mean, not only physically healthy, like our actual health, our internal systems, like whether it be nervous system function, strength, our digestive systems, our hormones and so forth. And that applies for everyone, of course, for all human beings. But for men particularly, how can we show up as healthy men in the world? And what does that actually mean? What does it mean to be a healthy masculine man? What does it mean to be an embodied man? What is this business, this talk around divine masculine? What does that actually mean, and how can we apply it pragmatically in our lives so that we are affected in a net positive way, and also that we are impacting positively everyone that we meet, everyone that we come into contact with? And for me, that's actually part of, there's a bit of a hint there, a little bit of insight. That's part of healthy masculinity, is that whoever we're coming into contact with, they're feeling included, they're feeling heard, they're feeling safe. And again, I will go into that maybe a little bit later, but that's part of that healthy masculine paradigm.
So obviously there's a lot of things that you do.
Yeah.
But, you know, I have my own show, and I love interviewing people because, you know, and I love being interviewed because everyone sees the glory of what someone's doing right now, but they truly don't know the story behind how they got there. So obviously, you know, you're from Australia, if people are not picking up the accent. So California now with your beautiful fiance.
Yeah.
How did you get into what you're doing? What were, you know, and the one thing that I always pull out from people when I interview is, can you recall, and there may be many, but can you recall an impactful moment or an impactful happening in your life that kind of lit that spark where you said, you know what, I got to really dive into this inner warrior of who I am and really become the best version of me for myself, but at the same time enable myself to give that to so many other people? Was there a clear happening or a clear situation that you can recall?
Yes, most definitely, and almost like it was yesterday, a very visceral feeling around it. And I'm thankful now as I go into that, the charge around it. The charge around it dissipated some time ago, but I can still feel it. And when I feel it, I feel the gratitude that has come with that moment and the many moments before that, because that gave context to the moments before that and great catalyst and context to the moments after that. And so for me, I was really living my life quite blindly as a man in the world. I wasn't clear on what I wanted. I was really just living to the standards of other people's values and other people's norms, whether it be trying to impress my father or various versions and expressions of him that would come into my life, of course, whether it be in the form of a woman or a partner or a boss or a colleague or a friend or whatever it was, but the symbolism of that. And really just living my life blindly. And I was angry most of the time. I was frustrated. I enjoyed what I did, but I didn't enjoy what I did. And I would lash out at people, and I had a very short fuse and a short temper. And much of my younger days, I spent just fighting and being aggressive and just on the street, just being a thug and really not being true to me and not honoring myself, and in the process, not honoring others. And so a major catalyst for some of my change, or for a great deal of it, was when I was in a relationship a number of years ago, and that relationship became untangled, unraveled, in the sense that I was very unfaithful in that relationship, and she discovered that I didn't even have the courage to tell her and be active in that. And that's one of the for me, that was also a sign that, was I really being a healthy man? Was I really being an honorable man? Was I, what did it mean to be a healthy man? And obviously I was dishonoring myself and dishonoring her. I was unfaithful and untruthful. I was dishonest. And to me, when I really looked at that, that wasn't what a healthy man does or did. And so that whole situation, which was very painful, allowed me to look at my behaviors and ask myself some really deep questions about who I was being and where I wanted to go in the world, and what type of man did I want to be, and what legacy did I want to leave. And legacy, not only in the sense of die and leave a legacy, but what we heard over the weekend as well, and what I saw in a cartoon meme the other day. But leave a legacy with the actions that we take in the world and how we show up to relationship and to situations. And that meme that I saw the other day was, I think it was yesterday, is, oh, we only live once. And his cartoon friend says, no, we don't only live once, we live every day, we die
Oof.
once. And so the legacy for me is, so
That's
powerful.
if that doesn't
Yeah,
get you in the gut, I don't know what will. I mean, that's amazing.
yeah, yeah. And I very much resonate with that. And so back at that point a few years ago, I had to face some very hard truths about who I was being. And it was a massive shot to the ego. It was massive, multiple ego deaths. And I wasn't behaving in that way. It was what I uncovered was I wasn't behaving in that way to hurt her or to hurt myself. I was behaving in that way because I was so wounded and in so much pain myself. And I'd covered it up over the years. And I was in such avoidance and I was in numbing. And so for me, being with multiple women was numbing for me. And these aren't excuses because I'm deeply remorseful for my behavior. And it gave me insight into who I was. And it wasn't just that, I was excessively exercising. Like I would put myself through grueling physical challenges. And I would define myself by these physical challenges. That my worthiness would be defined by how strong I was or how much endurance, how much pain I could tolerate. I was in this constant state of avoidance. And if it wasn't women, it was excessively moving my body and excessively engaging in fitness. And so I was very blind to much of my own patterning and much of my own pain and the fears. So that was a catalyst that gave me an opportunity. And of course I had to choose to do that, to deep dive into all of that. And I did. And then my life really began to change. And I began to view masculinity differently. I began to really look at myself differently and ask very seriously who I wanted to be in the world. And that's when massive changes began to unfold in my life.
So what was obviously for me, vulnerability and clarity are paramount in life, because when you can, and I think we talked a little bit about this on our walk to dinner the one night, that when you can turn that mirror around on yourself and really look directly at yourself and understand, you know what, there's been some decisions that I've made in my life that aren't the best, and I have hurt people along the way. But it's not that, it's good to be deeply remorseful because you're being present to what has happened. It's not, you're not unconscious to it. You're not stuffing it down and pretending that it never happened. So everyone has that light bulb moment or that enlightened moment where you just realize you're like, man, life is so much bigger than this, and I can be so much better than this. So when you finally wrapped your arms around who you could truly become and you stepped into your power, what was that moment and what transcended from your life when you realized all this?
Yeah. And so what transcended from, I'll answer the second one first. What transcended, the second part first, what transcended from my life was ownership and responsibility and acceptance. And then I was able to let go and release the guilt, and I was able to forgive myself and forgive everything that was coming into my sphere of reality, or the memories that were coming up, the trauma that I experienced, the guilt and the shame and all of that was arising. And as a result of that responsibility, the ownership and the acceptance, I was able to move through and move on. And so for me, there was a definitive moment where I was spending, Scott, I let go of so much, brother. I stopped my businesses. I lost friends. I went into this space of, I really got to look into this. And that was part of my extreme personality. I spent hours in personal growth every day. I engaged counselors, healers, psychologists. I spent hours alone every day, meditating, reading, expressing, crying, venting, releasing a great deal of anger in healthier ways than I had in the past. I was really confronting all of my emotions and everything that I was. And so whilst I was being vulnerable, I was being vertically vulnerable, and I was being vulnerable with purpose. It wasn't just to scattergun my emotions. It was to really get to the core of what was going on. I remember I was spending a lot of time in nature, as I always do, but it was just with a different intent this time. And I was in the ocean. I spent a lot of time in the ocean. I always do. I'm a water baby. I was in the ocean and I was just in the water, and there was a few people there. It was a little bit cold. There weren't that many people. And I remember this like it was this morning. And I was sitting there just looking out into the horizon. And there's a couple of islands scattered where I was there in Fremantle in Australia. And I was asking myself, like, I was in the middle of it then. I just, like I said, I'd lost business. I was losing money. I was going into debt. I was isolated. I just felt disconnected. I didn't feel like I didn't feel I had anything to give the world or myself. I was losing everything, my sense of self, my identity. I was in the water about chest deep, just a little bit below chest deep. And it was a little bit cold, but the skies were fairly clear, and it was a blue ocean, a few waves, but really quite calm. And I was asking God, I said, I just don't know if I'm on the right path. Just give me a sign if I'm on the right path, or maybe this life's not for me. Because I was in so much turmoil with everything that was coming out from the unconscious self. And I sat there for a few minutes and nothing. I was just getting colder. I'm like, maybe I need to be a bit more specific. I can't just be general here. I need to be specific. So I said, if I'm on the right track, and I said this out loud, and if anyone was there, they would have thought, well, is this guy okay? So, in the half water, just sort of tears down my eyes, rolling down my face, coming out of my eyes. And I'm like, just talking out loud. Okay. I said, if I'm on the right track, show me dolphins right now. Within seconds, 2 big dolphins, 2 little baby dolphins, literally 30 feet, not even, 30 feet, 40 feet away from me, maximum. And I started just crying so much. I was bawling my eyes out. And tears of joy and gratitude and realization of where I was. And I knew at that point, I'm destined for something. Like, I knew it before, but I knew at that point that I'm really destined for something else. And that was a major light. And that was a few months into the moment that she found out. And all credit to her, she stayed in that relationship for a couple of months with me as well, maybe more, a few months, because we tried to work things through, but it was just very volatile and very difficult and very confronting. And I completely understand why that was the case for her. Of course, she was deeply hurt, and the role that I had played had deeply wounded her as well. And so that there, though, changed the dynamic that I started to function in life and started to see the world. And I really knuckled down and went deeper into myself, because I had that confidence that, Carl, I'm here. I'm here.
So we talked a lot about men, because you and I both agree that there's an art to really tapping into your own femininity as a man, but also being masculine at the same time. But we also talked about that it's not just men; it's men and women. It's this unconscious tango that we do. So share with me and share with the audience, because you've worked with a lot of men, you've worked with a lot of women, and we are two different creatures. I mean, there is no denying it. Men and women are very different. But what are some common things that you are noticing emotionally, spiritually, personally, between men and women that are maybe causing these blocks and really stopping people from living not just an amazing life within themselves, but in the greatest and best relationships possible?
This is a great question. And so some of the blocks that we experience as human beings is when we're out of harmony. And so when we're extreme in our expression, no matter where it is on the spectrum, that's not healthy for us. And so we lose so much of who we are. And so an example of that is I'll give you three examples of the balance that, or the harmony that we have as human beings. And so that yin yang construct, okay? For masculine, feminine, think of do and be energy. Michaela Boehm speaks greatly to this. She used to work with David Data for 18 years or so. She was working with David Data. And so masculine do energy, feminine be energy. Masculine go energy, feminine flow energy. And so we've got be, do, go, flow as examples, okay? And so when we're in that too much of a go energy, which much of society finds itself in, is all that doing. And so we identify with ourselves and we label ourselves of being worthy, or we label ourselves as being happy. We experience happiness when we do a lot, or when we accumulate a great deal, or when we have the titles and the status. And in order to have those titles and status, we have to do a lot in the world. We have to show and demonstrate our worthiness through our output, through our productivity. And so when we become obsessed with that, and there's no downtime in terms of who are we, who do we get to be in the world? What do we get to feel and express in the world? Can we not obsess with one style of expression? When we don't have that, we become extreme in our nature, or extreme in our being, extreme in our expression. That doesn't serve us or anyone. That's unhealthy. It's not sustainable. Any form of extremism is not sustainable. And so if it's not sustainable, then maybe it's not natural to us. And so finding that harmony between that be and do, go and flow energy is really important for us as human beings, full stop.
So I love, you were mentioning about the spectrum, and I know that's something that is very, very important to you, and a lot of it is based around energy. But for those that don't know about the energy spectrum and how we have this innate energy inside of all of us, and how we all have that same potential to tap into our own greatness. Just speak a little bit about, you know, all of the flow and and the different energy and what all that means, and what are maybe some people that don't know who you are, what's a tangible thing or a little takeaway, that maybe an action step that they can do after being on tonight's live or watching it on the replay, where they can start to make those little shifts or changes within themselves?
I think most people will find that the world that we live in, we favor that hyper masculine expression. So that doing energy, that status energy, it's all about accumulation. It's all about how others perceive us. It's all about what we're doing in the world, as opposed to being authentic, like living our own truth. And so we're really playing to the fiddle of someone else's tune. We're externalizing our values. We're not adhering to our own internal value sets. Are we even exploring our own value sets? That's the question. Do most of us even have that? Not that we don't have the capacity, but do most of us even go down that path? And so in terms of what we can tangibly do to counteract that very prominent doing energy in our world is self-care, self-compassion. Begin with how we talk to ourselves. Just begin to pay attention. Like if you want to do something really tangible, every hour on the hour, or every half an hour, or every 20 minutes, or every 10 minutes, you can set the alarm clock on your phone or on your device whenever you want, however you want. In that moment, allow alarm to go off, and the alarm asks you, how am I feeling right now? And so you write down how you're feeling, and you write down the time. And you would do this for a period of 60 to 90 days. Like, it requires a little bit of work, obviously, but hey, all good things require some level of effort and attention. Absolutely. And intention as well. And so begin to honor how you're feeling. So you're paying more attention to the feeling state that we have. Like, men have limbic systems as well. Human beings have limbic systems that emotionally regulate ourselves. And so how we respond to the world intellectually or cognitively, and we respond to the world emotionally. And what most men do, unfortunately, because we're not conditioned to, or we're not taught how to emotionally express and emote healthily, is we repress our emotions. So we become stunted on that spectrum. And so instead of having a broad and deep range of access to different emotional constructs and expressions to respond to certain situations, we limit ourselves to like 2, 3, if that. Usually it's frustration, anger, despondency, aggression. Like it's really limited. And so we don't have these emotional tools in our tool belt. And so something that we can do in order to begin to really build that is to pay attention to what we're feeling instead of just being in that energy of doing, accumulating or creating for the sake of what exactly. And so we begin to condition ourselves to pay attention to our internal state. And so when we're writing down those emotions, it's not just a quick thing, oh, I'm feeling happy, and then go away and go back to what you were doing. Spend a moment, spend a few minutes, go deep into that, really drop into the breath, drop into the body. What's the body feeling? Is the body feeling tension? Is the body feeling frustration? Is the body feeling anxiety? Or is it feeling quite peaceful? Is it feeling quite open? Is it sore? Is the body actually sore? So you can, if you struggle with feelings, go into the body like, okay, I'm sitting down right now. And some people have to start here. Some people have to just start with what they're doing on the hour, every hour for 12 hours a day. They just start with what they're doing. Okay, I'm sitting now, because they get in the habit of observation and witnessing. And then once they get comfortable with the very physical, the very tangible observation and witnessing of how they're posturing, sitting, standing, talking, whatever, then they can go into, oh, my left foot hurts. Okay, then they start paying more attention to the body. They start body scanning internally. And then they can, after a period of time, it could take 2 days, it could take 20 days, 50 days, it could take 100 days. They begin to touch more into the emotional self. How am I feeling? Well, this morning I was really sad because of A, B, and C. But how do I feel now? I'm still sad. So I feel sad. Oh, what's beneath the sadness? Oh, I'm frustrated. Okay, what's the frustration? And we can start going into the, not so much the story, but we can start unpacking.
You're peeling back the layers.
Yeah. Peeling back, but that takes time to do that. We don't just necessarily do it straight away, but we begin with an awareness practice of where are we on the hour, every hour. So we're breaking up that monotony of doing with starting to come back into the feeling body. And in terms of the balance or the harmonious expression that we can have in the masculine and feminine, like it's interesting, like we look at men or the masculine being having like a hardness and a rigidity. And that's not a bad thing. It's when we're rigid in excess, that's not healthy for us. There's a softness to the feminine. So we use those two principles and those two counterbalance points. Masculine expression is rigid. Feminine expression is supple. We take rigidity at the physical, emotional, and relational level, and we say, where am I being rigid in my life? Am I rigid in my relationship in the way I communicate? Am I egotistical? Am I stubborn? Because these are expressions of rigidity. Am I actually stiff where I'm not flexible? You know, like, am I really, really stiff in the body? Oh, I'm really stiff in the body. There's rigidity there. So then we say, wow, I'm actually more rigid than I am supple and soft. What practices can I engage in to soften me? That doesn't mean you're being weakened. There's a difference. You're not being weak. If I'm flexible, so for example, if I can touch my hands here and I'm supple, okay, and obviously there are people that are far more flexible than that, but that's not too bad. Does that make me weak that I'm supple and flexible? No, it gives me great strength. So we have to just have a perspective switch as well. So back to what I was saying though, if we're rigid in a lot of different places, well, how can we be supple? Maybe we can be a bit softer in our communication. Maybe we can be more open to hearing someone else's opinion. Maybe we can practice empathy instead of just practicing being rigid and being stern and being stubborn, not wanting to hear other people's opinions or viewpoints. And so we begin to change the way we think and feel about ourselves and the way we move through the world as well, the way we respond to others and react to others and treat others too.
This is so good. I mean, I'm for those that are on here live, they're getting a treat, but I mean, for people that come on the replay, they're going to get a treat as well. So before we come to the end of this, before people can learn where to find you and what you actually do. 2 parts. Number 1, best piece of advice that you can give a woman who is struggling with her personal identity, maybe in the relationship that she is in, number one. Number two, best piece of advice that you can give that man that you and I spoke about, that really has that inner feminine, but is afraid to let his emotions out because he views emotion as weakness when it's really strength. Best piece of advice for that woman, best piece of advice for that man.
Great. Firstly, I'm going to honor my dear friend and mentor, Michelle Lewis, who's come on this live feed. And she is one of the most profound human beings I know. And she has personally, we've worked together, and she has personally helped shift. She's helped evolve me massively. And so I'm so honored that she's on here now. Michelle, I love you. It's amazing to see you. She's been a blessing in my life and just a stellar human being on so many different levels. And I feel quite chuffed that she's here watching this now. So very proud, very inspired. So to go back to your question, and of course, not being a woman, I don't want to make any rash judgments around what a woman should or shouldn't do. And I'll just come from personal experience working with many women in a one-on-one capacity and working with different couples as well. Is just go back, just restate the first question about women, please.
Best piece of advice to give to that woman who is insecure with herself, not confident, but is maybe also staying in a relationship that is not serving her, but is afraid to leave.
Yeah. So the first thing I would say, and actually this response is to both for men and women, in this first part. And the first part is we need to create a sense of security and safety for ourselves in order to make decisions that are going to be healthiest for us. And so the best piece of guidance I can give in this case, both for men that are wanting to explore this other expression of self, wanting to tap into the various emotions that they have access to on the spectrum of emotional expression that they've been denying for so long, is find a support group that aligns with your values. Surround yourself with a peer group. I know this is really simple advice, but this is so important. This goes back to our primal biology. If we are not surrounded with people that we trust, respect, and revere, and that can support us and be non-judgmental, that can see us and feel us for who we are and give ourselves an opportunity to see ourselves for our truth, then step into that truth, and we feel empowered, like we feel supported to be able to do that, we feel more confident and courageous, then we'll actually see tangible change. Otherwise, we're not going to change. We're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again because we don't feel supported by ourselves and by others. And as a reference point, an immediate reference point to get that is surround yourself with people that aren't going to critique you and say, or fuck him, leave him, he's no good for you. Or, no, you need to stay with him, he's the best. And what are you doing? Are you crazy? You're never going to get anyone like that. Like, we have to have indifferent, neutral support that says, that's empowering. So I'm here for you. Whatever choices you make, I'm here for you. I can give you my opinion on what I see, but don't hold that. There's no real harsh, loaded judgment there. It's more about, I'm here to support you, to empower you to make the decisions. Know that I've got you. I see you for who you are. I'm not judging you for staying with a man that's treating you not well or could be treating you better, or you're staying in a situation that's not healthy. People have to come to their own decisions. Of course, if someone is in this situation, if someone is their physical life is threatened, you need to remove yourself, and your emotional life is threatened, like there's volatility and there's danger there. You got to remove yourself from the situation. But I don't think you're referring to that. You're just referring to not living in their truth. They're in a relationship that it's just painful emotionally. And we need first to get the clarity to make the decision that's in alignment with our highest truth. And one of the ways we can do that is choose to be in a support network that really sees us for who we are. And it's the same with men that are traversing the unknown for themselves, that are innovating their own emotional landscape. They need to surround themselves with other men, with other brothers that aren't going to judge them, that have tread that path before, that have experienced the pain, that have experienced the strangeness of feeling these emotions that they've never allowed themselves to feel, to be more in that space of, oh, I'm actually being real now because I'm not denying myself of something I've been wanting to feel all my fucking life.
That's amazing. I mean, that's a mic drop right there. Now, for the men, again, talking about strengths and weaknesses, and I always knew that I was different. You know, I was always an emotional person. I was always in touch with my emotions, and I was never, you know, at times I was afraid to express that. And most men are really afraid to express their emotions. And what women want, they want to be heard. They want their husband, their partner, their significant other to tell them how they're feeling, get it off their chest. And just quickly talk to those men that are afraid to really open up, and they're afraid to really express how they feel because they see expressing emotion or feeling as weakness when it's really strength. Talk to those men that are maybe feeling that way.
They're denying themselves, men, you're denying yourselves of an opportunity to be seen by your beloved or by your family or by women in your life that want to see you for you. And I realize there are some people that have a very high expectation on men. Generally speaking, the greater collective has not really allowed men to learn how to emote. And therefore, we don't communicate generally very effectively and very cleanly. And so when we don't actively pursue the opportunity to be different, when we don't actively pursue the opportunity to get uncomfortable and begin to access expressive parts of ourselves that have great potential for healing and growth, we're denying ourselves of amazing opportunities to connect and be intimate and to be seen, and then to also see others. And don't kid yourselves. Every human being wants to be seen. The prime directive, the reason why we're here is for growth and expansion. And every single human being wants to be seen for who they are and wants to be able to see others. This is a primal urge, and it's also a social evolution that's occurred over many, many years, over millennia and millennia. And so we're denying ourselves, men, when we don't allow ourselves to feel and be vulnerable, not in a scattergun approach, but to be what I call vertically vulnerable with confidence and certainty, and vulnerable with stability and safety within self, and vulnerable with confidence. Come back to that confidence is that no matter how we're met, what's more important is that we're being truthful with what we're experiencing internally, and we're projecting that externally, not in a way that is hurting others or shaming and blaming others and guilting others, but in a way that is self-honoring and honor. And so that requires some intellect as well. That it requires some heart exploration. And it's a process, it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. Or maybe it does for some, but it's a process either way, okay? It's a journey. And so honoring that, it just means that the relationships, the wonder that you experience in your relationship, the level of intimacy and depth will just escalate and elevate massively because of that honesty.
Amazing. We can probably talk about this for another hour, but I do want to respect you and your time. Tell people a little bit more about the programs that you have in place, who they benefit, how they can connect with you, and where can they learn more about what you're currently doing right now in your business.
Amazing. Thank you, brother, for that opportunity. So I've got an amazing men's program that's coming up. I've been running it for a couple of years now, and it's only evolving in every single way. It's called Reclaim Your Kingdom, and you can find this program at reclaimyourkingdom.com. And it's a 3-month online immersive journey for men. It's based on a 12-principle model that I've developed over the years, and that's called the Conscious Warrior. And then the Reclaim Your Kingdom is based on this 12-principle model. Every week we go through one of the principles, and really these principles come in together to teach us how to be healthy men in contemporary times. The world's changing super fast. Men are losing their ability to identify with what it means to be a masculine man. And so this program, or this journey rather, we come together as a band of brothers, and we learn from each other, and we follow a framework, and we practice. There's many tools and techniques that I give that I've learned from my own mentors and own masters that I've worked with, and I leverage and I utilize ancient wisdom and Eastern mysticism and Western psychological frameworks and neuro-empowerment practices. And we come together and we really just up-level ourselves and evolve. And that begins March the 4th is the next intake. And so men are already coming in. There's a heap of amazing men already there. And so if you're interested in that, reclaimyourkingdom.com. Ladies, share this with any man in your life that you feel may need it or would benefit from it as well. It's not just a need, it's a benefit. But this for me is hands down the most comprehensive men's program that's out there that I've seen.
Amazing. And I was actually just going to say that I have a pretty big female audience just from everything that I do. And, myself and my fiance, we do relationship videos on Sundays. And I know that there's a lot of men out there struggling. So ladies, if you're watching this live or on the replay and that the man that you're with is really wanting to reclaim his kingdom, again, just go to www.reclaimyourkingdom.com. And this is a program you don't want to miss. And what I love about Steph is that he's turned things in his life and experiences from his life and what he's learned. And you can see he's a teacher, but he's also a student. And, when you think that you know everything, you know nothing. And the teacher is always learning. Learning is that's where all the value in life is, because you don't know everything and you need to invest in yourself. And, if you're that person out there that really wants to reclaim your kingdom, and Steph just dropped the link in there, so definitely check it out. And just thank you, brother, for this amazing, amazing content. Just such love and gratitude for you for jumping on here and really sharing. And I love how you kept it so streamlined and so simple, because people think that becoming your best self is this huge, huge intake. But all it really is just asking for simple things and taking those small steps forward that really amount to the big picture of what life really is. Just what you said. Life happens every day. Death comes once. And we all have the same power to live each and every day. So Steph, thank you again so much for taking the time. Any parting words for the audience? Anything you want to leave them with?
I'd love to say, whatever you do in your life, just be willing. If you're committed to something and you're on point with something and it aligns with you, be willing to be there no matter what happens. And you'll know when it's time to leave. You'll know when it's time to remove yourself from that situation. Trust that. But be willing to go where no one before you has gone, because that's how we innovate ourselves and that's how we grow and expand in massive leaps and bounds.
Awesome. So Steph, again, love and gratitude to you, brother. It was a pleasure getting to know you and spend time with you. And I'm looking forward to this year of personal growth together and what we're both doing. So again, for anyone that's on the live or on the replay, definitely check out Steph's program. And if you know someone that could benefit from it, tag them in this video so they can go back and watch. And again, Steph, thank you for taking the time, and I look forward to connecting with you in the near future.
Thank you, brother. Many blessings to you, and I'll see you soon.
Brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. So as you guys can see, we all have that inner warrior inside of us. And Steph and I just connected last week, but we had this really innate relatability with each other. And it's just one of those things where we all have the possibility and we all have the ability to reclaim and regain our kingdom. So definitely check out Steph's website. Thank you guys so much for coming on tonight and allowing me to share this amazing human being that's in my life right now. And I wish you all a wonderful rest of your Thursday evenings, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.